Welcome to NHL Drafted Team Imperialism. How it works is I spin a wheel to select a team. After selecting a team, I'll spin a directional arrow to find out which way we're going. If the arrow sends us towards an unoccupied state or province, then said team will claim said state or province. If it sends us towards an occupied state or province, then the two teams will match up and the winner's going to get all the occupied land. So obviously the big difference in this NHL Imperialism is everyone's back on the team they were drafted by. So we're going to be finding out which NHL team has done the best drafting. Now that we understand the rules, let's get right into it. But first, if your team has been eliminated in the NHL playoffs or has recently been eliminated, I'm really banking on a lot of you guys being Toronto fans, then you have to subscribe to the channel. Also, 75% of the people that watch these videos aren't subscribed, and you should change that, so subscribe. So there are going to be two small changes on the map, and Vegas and Seattle not being here. The only reason for that is they haven't been in the league long enough to have drafted a ton of players, so it just really wouldn't make any sense to have them here. With the very first spin on the wheel, the Philadelphia Flyers are up first, and they're taking their town southwest, and we're going to see our first matchup early on with them taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Looking at the Philadelphia Flyers forward core, we're seeing a bunch of legends returning to the team in Claude Giroux, Jeff Carter, and Patrick Maroon, just to name a few. While looking at the defense, Shane Gostisbehere is back to lead the way, and in between the pipes, holding it down is the current goaltender Carter Hart. The Penguins' main guys are still here in Malkin, Crosby, and Getzel, while the rest of the forward core is filled out by a bunch of solid NHL guys, but no superstars. Looking at the defense, Jake Muzzin's back on the team, and he's healthy and ready to roll. While in between the pipes, we have Tristan Jarry and Marc-Andre Fleury sharing the net together. Jarry's an 88 overall, that's the only reason he's starting over Fleury. I'm just going to leave it at that. So Marc-Andre Fleury clearly should be a net because Philly's going to be scoring 4 goals in the first period, and this game's basically over for Pittsburgh. But maybe not, because since Fleury took over net, the game's completely changed, and Pittsburgh's fought all the way back, and now it's a 1-goal game. But in the final seconds of the third period, Travis Konecny's going to be able to bury the empty netter, and Philly's going to be taking this one. And with that win, the Philadelphia Flyers are going to be claiming all of Pittsburgh's territory. Moving on to another team of the Eastern Conference, we have the Boston Bruins up next, and they're going to be heading southwest as well. But southwest for the Bruins is just going to lead to a free state. Moving over to our first team of the Central Division, we have the Colorado Avalanche up, and they're going to be heading slightly northeast, but that's just leading to a free state. Sticking in the Central Division, we have the Nashville Predators up next, and they're going to be heading due north. And with them heading north, similar to the Colorado Avalanche, they're just going to be taking a free state. All the way over in the west coast, we have the San Jose Sharks, and they're going to be heading southeast. And with them heading southeast, we have another matchup with the San Jose Sharks taking on the Los Angeles Kings. The Los Angeles Kings are going to be losing Kevin Fiala, but they're going to be replacing him with Braden Shen. While looking at the defense, we're going to get some upgrades with Eric Chernak and Alec Martinez returning to the team. And in between the pipes, of course, we got a legend, Jonathan Quick. He's back and he's ready to lead the team. Over in San Jose, the boys are back in town. Timo Meier's here, Josh Norris is here, and Joe Pavelski. They're ready to turn the franchise around. But looking at the defense here, this team's definitely going to need to score a lot of goals. And in between the pipes is 36-year-old Thomas Greiss. If San Jose wants to compete, they got to score at least 5 goals a game. And currently, they're on pace for that because San Jose is going to be picking up 2 goals in the first period, but LA's responding in the second period as they're picking up 3 unanswered. And 3 goals from LA are going to be enough, and they're going to be stealing this one away from the San Jose Sharks in a 3-2 win. With the Sharks falling, the Kings are going to be claiming Northern California. Heading back over to the East Coast, we have the Buffalo Sabres up next, and the arrow's telling them to go south. And with this team heading south, they're going to have to take on the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, we already know what Philly's team's comprised of, so we'll take a look at Buffalo. They've got some studs back on the team in Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, and Brandon Hagel, just to name a few. While looking at the defense, it's not receiving too many upgrades, but it's still looking pretty solid with Rasmus Dahlin leading the way. And looking at the goaltending situation here, it's definitely going to be an upgrade for them, as Linus Ullmark's going to be leading the way at a 90 overall. In the first period, the Sabres and Flyers are going to be exchanging goals, but in the second, Philadelphia is going to take off as they're potting 2, and now they've got themselves a 2-goal lead heading into the third period. And it looks like that's going to be enough for the Philadelphia Flyers as they're going to be taking down the Buffalo Sabres in a 3-1 win. With a fantastic defense from the Philadelphia Flyers, they're going to be taking over Buffalo territory. And with our next wheel spin, we got the Detroit Red Wings attacking next. And with the Red Wings heading due north, they're going to be the first team attacking Canada, and they got the Toronto Maple Leafs to take on. Looking at the Detroit Red Wings, honestly, there isn't really much different than what we currently see today. On the first line together, obviously Tyler Bertuzzi was here up until like 3 months ago, so yeah, this team looks pretty familiar. Meanwhile, the defense, of course, is going to be seeing a ton of changes, but most sides are still going to be leading the way for them. But they are going to have an issue in net with Peter Mrazek being their number 1 guy. Toronto Maple Leafs legend, if you ask me. And speaking of the Maple Leafs, they got themselves an amazing team here. Nylander, Matthews, Marner, Verhaeghe, Kadri. As I'm recording this, there's 14 minutes left in the third period, and Florida has a 2-1 lead. So I guess we're going to find out if Toronto's only going to be winning 2 additional games this postseason. Moving over to the defense, of course, Morgan Riley's still going to be the number 1 guy here, and holding it down in goal for the Maple Leafs is going to be 84 overall James Reimer. After a scoreless first period, Toronto and Detroit are going to exchange goals in the second, but we're still going to be tied up heading into the third. Early into the third period, William Nylander would get on the board to give Toronto the lead, and the Maple Leafs are going to hold on to that lead, so they're taking the Red Wings down. With that defense from Toronto, they're going to be the first Canadian team entering the US. Heading over to an amazing franchise, we got the St. Louis Blues up next. This team's going to head basically north, but a bit east as well, and that's just going to give them a free state, so they're avoiding Chicago. So Chicago gets to survive another day, because I know for a fact we would take this team down. Heading back over to the East Coast, we have the New Jersey Devils, and that team's heading due south. But that's not going to mean too much because they're just going to be claiming a free state. Sticking in the Eastern Conference, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they're taking their towns west, and they're going to be claiming a free state as well. We're back in the Central Division. The Minnesota Wild are attacking next, and with this team heading northwest, they're just going to be claiming themselves a free state. A poverty franchise in the Arizona Coyotes is going to be attacking next, and they're going to be heading slightly southeast, but that's just going to be a free state for them as well. We're heading back up to Canada, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are ready to go on the attack. They're heading directly south into the United States, and they're going to have to match up against the Philadelphia Flyers. Morgan Rielly's going to get the team on the board early in the first period, but Philly's going to be responding in the second, but that's not going to mean too much as Toronto's still going to have a 3-2 lead. In the third period, Toronto will be able to pot another 2 goals, so they have a commanding 5-2 lead heading late into the game. And even with Philly on the power play, the Leafs would be able to contain that lead, and they're taking down the Philadelphia Flyers. So with another win from Toronto, they continue to claim more land in the United States. Moving all the way over to the West Coast, the Anaheim Ducks are ready to go on the attack, and they're heading northwest, which means they're going to have to take on the Los Angeles Kings. The Anaheim Ducks are a very interesting team. They're adding decent pieces to the forwards in Rickard Rakell and William Karlsson. And then you look at this defense. This team has done an incredible job drafting defensemen. Shea Theodore, Brandon Montour, Hampus Lindholm, Josh Matson, Cam Fowler, and Justin Schultz. At this point, never trade a defenseman you draft ever again, because when you draft one, more than likely they're going to be a stud for you. Same with goaltenders, Freddie Anderson and John Gibson. You can't go wrong with either of these guys. The Ducks and Kings are going to be exchanging goals in the first period, and after a scoreless second period, Ante Kopitar's going to be able to give the Kings the lead halfway through the third period, and the Kings are holding on to that lead, so they're taking down the Anaheim Ducks. I know there's 0.4 seconds left on the clock. It doesn't matter. The Ducks are following. And with another fantastic homestance from the Los Angeles Kings, they've claimed the rest of California. Moving all the way over to the other side of the map, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be attacking next. Since this team's going to be heading directly north, they're just going to be claiming themselves a free state. It's time to head back up to Canada, and we have the Calgary Flames on the move next. This team's going to be heading mainly north, which means they're going to have to match up with the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, with the Calgary Flames, 2 major pieces are returning to the team, Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau. Looking at the defense, although Adam Fox never played for this team, he technically was drafted by them, so he's going to be leading the defensive core, and in between the pipes, we're going to have Boursois leading the way. Looking at the Edmonton Oilers, all 19 of their first overall picks are back on the team, and they're ready to roll. Although Nurse isn't a true #1 defenseman, they got decent depth here, so they might be able to do something. Although I do have questions about their goaltending, because I don't think Stuart Skinner's the guy. It looks like Calgary's going to prove my point in the first period, as they're going to be picking up 3 goals on 9 shots, and they've got themselves a good 3-1 lead. In the second period, the teams would exchange goals, but Calgary still got themselves a 2-goal lead, so they're ready to cruise to the end. But that might be a mistake, because the Edmonton Oilers are going to be scoring 3 unanswered in the third period, and in the final seconds of the third period, McDavid's going to pick up the empty netter, Edmonton scoring 6 on the day, and they're going to be claiming the rest of Alberta. This Flames team literally needed to hold on for 20 more minutes, and they would have won that game. And instead, they allow 4 goals in the third period. Tough way to go out. It's time to go check on the team that's about to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's 8 minutes left in the game now. Florida's still up 2-1. Maybe they win, maybe they don't. Who knows? And really, let's be honest, there's literally nowhere for Florida to go. They have to take on Tampa. I mean, technically, yes, if they went directly west, they would take on the Dallas Stars, but that would get very confusing with Florida not even touching their own land. Of course, with the Florida Panthers, Jonathan Huberdeau is returning to the team to lead the forward core, while Mackenzie Weegar's back on the line with Aaron Ekblad, and I'm excited to see what they can do as a pairing together. And in between the pipes, we have Jacob Markstrom. Spencer Knight's gonna be backing him up. That's not a bad goaltending tandem, as long as Markstrom plays up to potential. Looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning, a lot of the main pieces are still here, in Stamkos, Kucherov, and Braden Point. The defense is still going to be led by Victor Hedman, and Tony DeAngelo is going to be his defensive partner. Don't ask me why Ross Colton's playing defense right now. I couldn't tell you. I set the head coach preferred lines. I made sure I did that. I guess we only have 5 defensemen on this team. Way she goes, I guess. And they also have this guy named Andre Vasilevsky in between the pipes, so he might be able to steal them a game. Jonathan Drouin might be potting the lone goal in the first period, but Tampa's going to double down on that in the second period, and they've got themselves a 3-0 lead heading into the third period. Barkov would be able to score a late one in the third period, but it's not going to be enough, and Tampa's going to cruise to a 3-1 win. So even with Ross Colton playing defense, you still lost to Tampa. That's tough. That's real tough. Staying in the Eastern Conference, the New York Rangers are up next, and they're going to be heading southeast, which means they're claiming a free state. Sticking in New York, we got the Islanders up next, and they're going to be heading northeast, which means they got to take on the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins are looking really solid with the majority of the core here, plus they're adding guys like Tyler Seguin and Phil Kessel to the team. The defense is adding studs in Dougie Hamilton and Ryan Lidgren, and then in between the pipes we got Jeremy Swayman. Heading over to the New York Islanders, we're going to see John Tavares returning to the forward core, while the defense looks absolutely phenomenal with Devon Taves and Jared Spurgeon returning. And with a great defense like that, all you need is a fantastic goaltender, and that's exactly what they got in Sorokin. The Islanders are going to come out flying in the first period, as they're going to be picking up 2 quick ones, and then in the second period, the offense continues to roll for the Islanders. They're picking up another 4, and we're heading into the third period with the Islanders having a 6-3 lead. And of course, with a lead like that, the Islanders aren't going to be messing this one up. They're going to add 1 more just for insurance, and they're taking this one 7-3. So with that easy win from the Islanders, they're going to be taking over all of Boston's territory. Moving back to the Central Division, the Chicago Blackhawks are on the move next, and they're going to be heading northwest, which means they got to take on the St. Louis Blues. So this is going to be light work for us. But I got to take that back, because although Chicago looks like an absolute poverty franchise right now, they've actually done some pretty solid drafting. DeBrincat, Kane, Schmaltz, Teravainen, Hartman, Doc. None of these guys are still here though. That's the biggest problem with this team. They don't keep any of their good players. Unlike the forward core, the defense isn't looking great by any means, as Justin Hall is going to be one of the top guys here, and in between the pipes they have Craig Anderson, and they don't have a backup. Over the past 20 years, Craig Anderson's the best goalie drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks, and he's basically the only one that's made it to the NHL. So now they have Joe NHL backing him up at a 68 overall. And then here's the St. Louis Blues. Tarasenko, Tage Thompson, Jordan Kyrou. Of course, Robert Thomas is going to be manning that second line. An absolutely phenomenal forward core. And the defense gets even better with guys like Vince Dunn, Pietrangelo, and Colton Parayko. And in between the pipes, we have Ville Husso. And Jordan Bennington's going to back him up because Jordan Bennington's not him anymore. But you never know. He might be able to return to his true form. So St. Louis's fantastic offense is going to take 5 shots in the first period, and now we're down 1-0. And in the second period, Chicago continues to dominate, and they've got themselves a 3-0 lead now. That's not how I was expecting things to go. And in the final seconds of this game, the Blues are getting shut out. I bragged up our offense, and then we got shut out. That's a tough look. Yeah, so we're just immediately moving on from that. Heading up to Canada, we got the Winnipeg Jets next, and they're going to be heading northwest, which is just going to have them claiming Saskatchewan. We're going to continue to stick in the Central Division, as Dallas is going to be attacking next, and they're going to be heading northwest as well. But with them going that way, they're going to have to match up against the Arizona Coyotes. Similar to the Chicago Blackhawks, the Arizona Coyotes are bringing a ton of guys back to the team, but literally none of these guys still play for the team. Like a few of them do, but I'm talking like 3 of their 12 forwards. Looking at the defense, Jacob Chikrin's back after being gone for a few months, while the goaltending tandem for the Arizona Coyotes is a massive question mark, as you have Aiden Hill and Calgary sharing the net together. The Dallas Stars are going to be led by their young guys in Jason Robertson and Rupe Hintz, while the defense is going to see John Klingberg return to the team, so he's back and he's paired up with Miro Heiskanen. And in between the pipes, of course, we have Jake Ottinger. We already knew he was here. This team has a ton of potential, but can they live up to that potential is the real question. The Stars and Coyotes would be exchanging goals in the first period, but Dallas is taking the lead late in the second period in a 3-2 game. Christian Fischer would be able to tie this game up halfway through the third period, and it's going to stay like that, so we're going to need a bit of overtime. In the final moments of overtime, Lindell's going to get a shot off from the point. He's beaten Aiden Hill, and the Dallas Stars are going to be surviving another day while the Coyotes fall. With that win from the Dallas Stars, they now control the most land in the entire game, but to be fair, they also own all of Texas, so kind of skews it. The Washington Capitals are ready to get into the mix, so they're going to head north, which means they got to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So the Washington Capitals, of course, are going to be my favorite to win this, but you might be wondering, why would the Washington Capitals of all team be my favorite? They have a guy by the name of Andre Burakovsky, and if you know, you know. It should be no surprise the defense is going to be led by John Carlson, and in between the pipes they have a great tandem of 2 Russian goalies in Varlamov and Samsonov. After a scoreless first period, Washington's going to be potting 3 big goals in the second period, and they're not looking back after that, and they're going to cruise to a 3-0 win in this game. Yeah, I forgot to jump into the game to watch the final seconds. It is what it is. So with that win for the Capitals, they're going to be the first American team to enter Canada. And speaking of Canadian teams, we have the Ottawa Senators up next, and with them heading west, they're going to have to take on the Winnipeg Jets. The Ottawa Senators have done an incredible job drafting. Just look at this forward core. Kachuk, Zibanejad, Mark Stone, Tim Stutzel, Drake Batherson, just to name a few. And the defense is going to see Thomas Chabot and Erik Karlsson on that first pairing together, so nothing's going to be able to stop them. And with a healthy Robin Lehner in between the pipes, Ottawa could be a sleeper team. And heading over to the greatest team in NHL 23, the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know what it is about NHL 23, but this team is unstoppable. And looking at them, they're going to be pretty solid. They got a bunch of studs here in Kyle Connor, Mark Schleife, and Patrick Laine. Looking at the defense, of course, they have a Norris finalist in Josh Morrissey, and in between the pipes they have Connor Hellebuyck, so you definitely can't be sleeping on this team either. The Senators and Jets are going to be exchanging goals in the first period, but Brady Tkachuk's going to score one in the second period, so Ottawa's taking the lead heading into the third. The third period would feature a ton of goals, but the most important one's going to be from Chris Weidman with 3 minutes left in the game, as he's going to be putting Ottawa up 5-4. And it turns out that goal from Weidman is going to end up being the winner, and Ottawa's taking this one 5-4. So that was an absolutely huge win from the Ottawa Senators, as they're going to be claiming all of Manitoba and all of Saskatchewan, so now they have the most land. Moving back down to California, the Los Angeles Kings are ready to go on the attack. They're going to be heading east, which is just going to lead to a free state for them. Moving all the way over to the other side of the map, Tampa's up next, and they're going to be heading northwest. And similar to LA, that's just going to be a free state for them. We're down to 3 Canadian teams, and Vancouver's going to be the next team on the attack. This team's going to be heading south, and normally this would be a matchup for them, but with Seattle gone, they're just claiming a free state. The Montreal Canadiens are looking to get into the mix, so they're going to head west, and now they got to take on the Ottawa Senators. So it's safe to say the Montreal Canadiens have done a very poor job drafting, because this team does not look good. We're going to see some great scorers here in Max Pacioretty and Cole Caulfield, but outside of those 2 guys, this forward core looks pretty cooked. The defense, on the other hand, looks not too bad. You got Sergachev and Ryan McDonough here, so that might be able to keep you in this game. But with Carey Price's career being over, Yaroslav Halak is going to be your starting goalie at 80 overall. And it looks like the lack of defense from Montreal is going to be hurting them, as Ottawa's going to be scoring 3 early in the first period, and the Senators continue to keep piling on. They're going to score another 2 goals in the second period, and they've got themselves a 5-1 lead. The scoring would refuse to stop from Ottawa, as they're going to be scoring another one in the third period, and then an empty netter is going to give them their 7th goal of the game, so Ottawa's taking this one 7-1. That was just pure domination from Ottawa, and now they almost own all of Canada. All they got to do now is take out Edmonton and Vancouver, and the little section that Washington has. So as we know, the Edmonton Oilers were the last team on the wheel. They're going to be heading west, so they got to take on the Vancouver Canucks. Now Vancouver, I don't know what you've been doing over the past 20 years, because you clearly haven't been drafting Pedersen, Brock Besser, Bo Horvat, and Jared McCann. What's the rest of this team? Like, this is an absolute disappointment. I didn't think it would be possible, but the defense is even worse. Quinn Hughes is here, Forsling's here, and that's about it, because Alex Edler's at the end of his career. But luckily you have Thatcher Demko, but I don't even think he could save this team. The offense from Edmonton's going to work early, as they're going to be picking up 2 goals in the first period. In the second period, Edmonton and Vancouver are exchanging goals, so this game's going to be a lot closer than I was expecting. But late in the third period, Jesse Puljujarvi is going to be potting the insurance goal, and the Edmonton Oilers are going to cruise to a 4-2 win. If we're being completely honest though, Edmonton should have scored about 10 goals, let's be fair. So with round 1 in the books, we've already seen a ton of changes, but it's not enough, so let's keep on rolling until we have our winner. The Minnesota Wild are going to be the first team up in the second round. They're going to be heading directly east, and that's going to lead to a free space for them. Sticking in the same area, we got the Chicago Blackhawks attacking next, and they're going to be heading due east as well, so they're going to be matching up against the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets have a decent forward core, which is going to be led by Pierre-Luc Dubois, while the defense is going to have Zach Werenski leading the way, and Gavrikov, he's back on the team. And in between the pipes, we're going to see Merzlikins leading the way at an 84 overall. Chicago and Columbus would be exchanging goals in the first period, but in the second period, Chicago is going to be taking off, scoring another 3, and they've got themselves a 5-3 lead. And the scoring from the Blackhawks would continue into the third period, as they're going to be picking up another 2, and now they've got a 7-3 lead. And of course, 7 goals is going to be enough for the Chicago Blackhawks, and they're eliminating the Columbus Blue Jackets. And with that win from Chicago, they're going to be the first team to defeat somebody in the second round. Moving back over to the Eastern Conference, we have the New York Rangers on the attack, and they're going to be heading north, which means they're going to have to take on Ottawa. The New York Rangers are going to be losing a ton of talent on the forward core, but they have some fantastic players returning in JT Miller, Pavel Buchnevich, and Anthony Duclair. The defense, on the other hand, is not looking great by any means, as Ryan Graves is going to be the top guy here at an 84 overall, but luckily they have Shesterkin in net, and he could probably steal them a game or 2. Goals are going to be exchanged from Capo Caco and Mike Hoffman in the first period, and the exact same thing's going to be happening in the second, so we're still tied up heading into the third period. But in the third period, that's when the Rangers are taking control of this game. They're going to be scoring another 2, and they've got themselves a 4-2 lead with a minute 20 left. However, Mike Hoffman's single-handedly keeping the Ottawa Senators in this game, as he's going to be picking up his 3rd goal of the game, and he's keeping this one close. But unfortunately, Mike Hoffman's not going to be able to pick up his 4th goal of the game, so the Rangers are taking down the Ottawa Senators. And with that big win from the New York Rangers, they now own the most land in the entire game. Moving back over to the Western Conference, the Colorado Avalanche are ready to go on the attack next, and they're going to be taking their talents northwest. But they're heading northwest, they're just going to be claiming a free state. The New Jersey Devils are up next, and they're going to be heading northwest as well. That's going to lead them into Washington Capitals territory, so we're going to have a good matchup here. The main core for the New Jersey Devils is still here: Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, and Nico Hischier. Well, the defense is definitely taking a downgrade, as Emil Larson's going to be the top guy here at an 84 overall. And with Mackenzie Blackwood as their star goalie in net, I think this team's going to struggle a bit. But maybe I should take that back, because so far, Mackenzie Blackwood's standing on his head, and the Devils have a 2-0 lead. And New Jersey continues to put on the pressure. We have a 5-1 game heading into the third period, and I would say this one's all wrapped up. The Devils and Capitals are going to be exchanging goals in the third period, but of course, Washington's not going to be able to get back into this one, so Jersey's taking this one to 6-2 win. Although Jersey doesn't own the most land in the entire game, they probably own the most land owned by other teams. Because if you think about this small area here, you would have Pittsburgh, Philly, Buffalo, Washington, Toronto, Detroit. That's a lot of teams, even though there isn't a ton of land owned. The Dallas Stars are up next, and they're going to be taking their talents northeast, but that's just going to lead to a free state for them. Heading back up to Canada, we have the lone Canadian team left in the Edmonton Oilers, and they're going to be heading southeast, so that means they have to take on the New York Rangers. New York's getting on the board quick and often, as they're going to be picking up 3 goals in the first period, but in the second period, McDavid's picking up the lone goal, and he's keeping Edmonton in this game. Lafreniere and Draisaitl would exchange goals in the third period, but in the final seconds, the Rangers still have the lead, and they're going to be able to hold on to that lead, so they're taking down the Edmonton Oilers, who are the final Canadian team. And now the New York Rangers officially own all of Canada, except for the little section that New Jersey owns, because they still own Toronto's territory, but that's not going to last for too much longer. The Nashville Predators are going to be our next team up, and with them heading south, they're going to be claiming a free state right beside Tampa, so they're getting real lucky there. Heading back to the Metro Division, we have the New York Islanders, and they're going to be heading south, which means they're going to have to take on the New Jersey Devils. Matt Barzal is going to get the scoring started in the first period with a lone goal, and then the Islanders are going to keep on pushing. Pollock's going to pick up a shorthanded goal, and the Islanders have themselves a 4-1 lead. But the New Jersey Devils aren't ready to fold. They're going to be picking up 2 goals in the third period, and they've made this a 1-goal game. But it looks like that 1 goal is going to be the difference maker, as the Islanders are taking this one 4-3. And that loss from the New Jersey Devils is going to allow the Islanders to claim a lot of land. We're down to our final 3 teams in the second round. The Kings are on the move next. This team's going to be taking their talent southeast, so they're going to have to match up against the Dallas Stars. Dallas and LA are going to be exchanging goals in the first period, so we're entering the intermission with a 2-2 tie. The scoring would continue into the second period, but Dallas now has a 1-goal lead with the help of a Heiskanen goal with 4 minutes left in the period. Braden Shen's not going to allow the LA Kings to fall, though. He's going to be picking up a power play goal, and in a 4-4 game, we're going to need a bit of overtime. 5 minutes into overtime, Riley Smith's going to get himself set up on the doorstep. Eventually, the puck's going to make its way over to him, and he's going to bury this one in the back of the net, eliminating the Los Angeles Kings. That win from Dallas is going to allow them to claim a ton of land from LA, and now they're slowly claiming all of the West Coast. Our second last team of the second round is going to be the Carolina Hurricanes. They're going to head directly south, and that's just going to be a free state for them. Tampa's ready to finish this round off by heading northeast, and that's going to be a matchup matchup for them, and they got to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. The main pieces for Carolina are still here in Sebastian Aho, Svechnikov, and Martin Necas, but they've added a guy like Elias Lindholm to the second line, so that's going to be a major boost. And the defense is looking incredible. Slavin and Falk, Hanifin and Pesci, there definitely shouldn't be any questions about the forward and defensive core for this team. The goaltending, on the other hand, there might be some slight questions, with Kochetkov leading the way at an 83 overall. Justin Falk's going to score the lone goal of the first period, but the scoring's going to get started in the second. Carolina's going to be picking up 3 more, while Tampa's picking up 2, and now Carolina's got a 2-goal lead heading into the third period. Carolina and Tampa would be exchanging goals in the third period, but it looks like Tampa isn't going to be able to mount a comeback, so they're going to be falling to the Carolina Hurricanes. It took long enough for Carolina to get into the mix, but now they have, they're ready to make some moves. We're going to be starting off the third round exactly how we started off the second round, with the Minnesota Wild making moves first. And with this team heading directly west, they're once again going to be claiming a free state. They just keep on moving west. And ironically, if they move west once again, they'll actually claim another free state. So this team might make it into the top 5 without having to do anything. Speaking of another team that hasn't done anything, the Nashville Predators are on the attack next, and they're going to be heading directly east, and we already know that's going to be a matchup, and they got to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. The Nashville Predators offense isn't going to be looking too great, with Kevin Fiala being the top guy here at an 87 overall. The defense, on the other hand, absolutely incredible. Yossi and Ryan Ellis, Ekholm and Seth Jones, and then Gerard and Fabro on the third pairing, so they can definitely hold it down for this team. And they also got a guy like UC Saros in between the pipes, so the goaltending and defense for this team is absolutely elite. So Nashville's offense is going to be leading the way in the first period. They're taking 19 shots, picking up 2 goals. Nashville would continue to take a ton of shots, but Kochetkov standing on his head, and Warren Fogel's keeping this game close. Carolina's going to be mounting the comeback as they're going to be picking up 2 goals in the third period, and now this game's needing a bit of overtime. And in the final minute of overtime, with Carolina on the 5-on-3 power play, of course, they're going to be ending this one. Jeff Skinner's going to get an incredible shot fake off, and he's dishing over to Seth Jarvis, who's wide open in front of the net. It's going to be an easy deflection from Jarvis, and Carolina's taking this one. Carolina continues to make a bunch of small moves, but they're starting to make a name for themselves. The Islanders are up next, and this team's going to be heading northwest. So this is going to be a massive matchup as the Islanders are taking on the New York Rangers for all the land. The Rangers are doing a good job defending their land as they're picking up 3 goals in the first period, and they just keep on rolling. Another 3 goals in the second period, and in the third period, it's a 7-2 game. So I think it's safe to say this game's completely over, but in case it isn't, the New York Rangers are going to pick up their 8th goal of the game to end this one. So we're down to our final 6 teams, and I think it's pretty clear now which team's been making the most moves. Obviously, I'm talking about the Minnesota Wild because they've just been all over the board. Also, Colorado, don't think I'm forgetting about you. You guys have done less than the Minnesota Wild have. Carolina's feeling the hype and they're ready to roll, so they're going to be heading northwest, but the only issue with that is they're actually claiming a free state. I don't know how they're avoiding the New York Rangers, but there is a free state to the northwest, so they're taking that one. The team Carolina just avoided is up next in the New York Rangers, and they're heading directly south, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to see a matchup between these two teams. After a scoreless first period, Carolina and the Rangers are going to be exchanging goals in the second, and then the defense from Carolina is going to take off in the third period. We're going to see 2 goals from 2 different defensemen, and they've got themselves a 3-2 lead. But 3 goals might not be enough for the Carolina Hurricanes, so they're going to be potting an insurance goal with less than a minute left, and they're taking this one. And with that move, after Carolina doing basically nothing for the first 2 rounds, they own the most land in the entire game. It's kind of funny how things can happen like that. A team that's been doing absolutely nothing the entire game is up next in the Colorado Avalanche, and they're going to be heading northwest. But luckily, that's going to lead to a matchup for them, and they got to take on the Dallas Stars. So the top 6 on Colorado looks absolutely amazing. Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Redden, and Gabriel Landeskog hoping for a quick recovery, and Ryan O'Reilly, Matt Duchene, Alex Newhook are going to be on that second line. The defense isn't going to be as dominant as we're used to seeing, but they still got Cale Makar leading the way to 94 overall. But the goaltending, yikes. 80 overall Spencer Martin's going to be the number 1 guy here. You never know, maybe he can steal them a game or 2, but I think it's going to be a tough matchup for them against Jake Ottinger. The Avs and Stars are going to be exchanging goals in the first period, but Jamie Benn's going to put the team on his back in the second as he's picking up the lone goal to give Dallas a 2-1 lead. But 2 goals is definitely not going to be enough for Dallas because Colorado's taking over in the third period. They're going to be picking up another 4 goals, and that's going to be more than enough for the Avs as they're taking this one in a 5-2 win. After that great offensive display from the Colorado Avalanche, they've made big moves and they've got themselves a ton of land now. We've got our final team of the third round, the Chicago Blackhawks, and they're going to be heading southeast, so they got to take on the Carolina Hurricanes, and that's definitely not going to be an easy matchup for them. After one period, even though Carolina's outshooting the Chicago Blackhawks 13-4, we're going to be tied 1-1. The offense from Chicago is going to get 2 quick goals in the second period, and now they're entering the third period with a 3-2 lead. In the third period, Chicago's going to continue to get on the board. They're picking up another 2 goals, and they've got themselves a 5-3 lead. But 5 goals might not be enough for this team, so Nick Schmaltz is going to pot another one, and Chicago's taking this one 6-3. So we're down to our final 3 teams. We got the Minnesota Wild, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Colorado Avalanche. Minnesota has done absolutely nothing this entire way, and they've made it to the top 3. You gotta respect it, you really do. Chicago's going to pick up where they just left off in the final round, and they're on the move. They're going to be heading northeast, so Minnesota finally has to get in on the action, and they got to take on the Chicago Blackhawks. So here's the final team we have to look at today. I can't believe we made it all the way to the final 3 without looking at this team, the Minnesota Wild. Of course, Kirill Kaprizov's going to be leading the offense at a 91 overall. And the defense, it's actually looking pretty solid here. Jonas Brodin, Brett Burns, Matt Dumba, just to name a few, and they got Darcy Kemper in between the pipes for them. So they've got themselves a great team here. The offense from the Minnesota Wild is going to be absolutely flying in game 1, and it probably should be, seeing as this team's been resting the entire way. They're picking up 3 goals. And in the second period, Chicago and Minnesota are going to be exchanging goals, but Minnesota still has that 2-goal lead. In the third period, once again, Chicago and Minnesota are going to be exchanging goals, so the Minnesota Wild are going to be entering the final game, taking down the Chicago Blackhawks 5-3. And here we are, the Minnesota Wild taking on the Colorado Avalanche, a team that has done absolutely nothing the entire way, and the Colorado Avalanche, who basically have also done nothing the entire way. These two teams have made it all the way to the final, and they've only won 1 matchup each. You hate to see it, you really do. So with the final spin here, we're going to see who's going to be taking home ice advantage, and that's going to be the Minnesota Wild. To be fair, neither of these teams deserved it. Paul Stastny is going to be scoring a late goal in the first period, and that's going to give Colorado a 2-1 lead. And then in the second period, Colorado is going to find a way to pick up another 2 goals, so they're entering the third period with a 4-2 lead. Alex Tuch's going to do whatever he can to keep this game close, so he's going to score one halfway through the third period, and now we've got ourselves a 1-goal game. But when Minnesota had to pull their goalie, they just couldn't stop the Colorado Avalanche. The Avs are going to be picking up 2 empty netters, and they're going to go on to win NHL Imperialism Drafted Teams Edition. Not going to lie, I got to find a new way to do these matchups, because I do not want 2 teams making it to the final who have only played 2 matchups combined. But then again, this is a game about luck, and the 2 luckiest teams made it to the final, so I guess it's only fitting.